As you may know, I do sessions just about every night that are the 9 things you need to know. Well, tonight we're going to do the 9 games you need to own. And generally, in this time of year, I do a gifts to take to grandma's list, and I didn't get around to doing that this year. Things have been pretty hectic. So instead, I'm offering this series of games as my way of giving you a recommendation. Now, these are all unsolicited recommendations. I'm not being paid for solicitation of any of these, nor would I, in any case, be involved with that kind of thing. The concept of invoking games for the game's sake is far more important to me than any particular title. Now, granted, I am the producer of NycosRPG, and although I would promote that in any other circumstance, it is not going to be included in today's list because this is a list of unsolicited recommendations for the games that you need to own, regardless of what form of game that you normally play, because this will cover the entire gamut of possible game formats that people might enjoy. So, having said that, let's get started. So, the first game that I would recommend, and this is a wholehearted recommendation that dates back to my youth and my childhood, and that is the game of cribbage. Now, if you've played regular playing card games, this is one that requires a little bit of understanding of addition or subtraction. It tends to be enjoyable by people of any age, and it does teach the shape recognition of the suits and things like that, but it is really just a fun little counting game. If you get a chance to find the rules for cribbage, you can find them online or you can purchase them directly. Second is Run for Your Life Candyman. If I'm asked to pick a board game that I would recommend, this is the one board game that uses the classic tabletop board, and it's a roll your dice, move your mice kind of a game, and it really focuses on the nature of these roll your dice, move your mice games. Your objective is, as a gingerbread man, you're trying to move through the Candyland without becoming consumed, and each action can put you in danger of having bites taken out of you, and it's very clever. It plays off of the traditional Candyland game in that it's a meandering course through the world of the make-believe, but it's just hysterical and definitely plays into the concept of the Candyman being the little cookie person, the gingerbread man, being eaten as he travels through the woods. Now, there is also a newer one called Roll for Your Life, which is almost like full contact between gingerbread, and it's also made by R&R Games, and I'm sorry, by I said that wrong, Smirk and Dagger. Wow, I'm glad I'm not getting paid for this. Smirk and Dagger Games. So they've got this one and they've got Roll for Your Life, and they're both hysterically fun, seasonal, obviously with the holiday seasons and candies and cookies and all that. It's a great little add-on game. Next is a game that plays off of the concept of the classic game of dominoes. If you're familiar with that, you have different sides on each end of small cubes, basically rectangles, and each half of a rectangle represents a different shade or color. And in this case, you're building a kingdom out of these domino-like pieces. And it's incredibly clever, innovative, and I believe it's blue. I'm not even going to guess, as I'm going to mess it up. But King Domino, you can find it on the web just simply by searching for it. And it is still in production and available. The next I'm going to mention, of course, is the time-honored Carcassonne. It's a tile-based game, and if you haven't played it before, it will change your perspective on board games altogether. It is creative and innovative in design, and your scoring mechanisms allow for multiple ways to achieve victory. The basic concept is you're setting tiles on the board and scoring based on the features on each tile. It's a great little game. It's been around for a while. It's got tons and tons of expansions, so even if you know somebody who plays it or owns a copy, you can actually look at the possibility of adding to their enjoyment by bringing new supplements and new add-ons to it if you find that they don't have them. So Carcassonne is a really good choice, and if you don't own this game, you should include it in your inventory for next year. Of course, this one's a classic, and most people will probably already own a copy, and if you don't, I highly recommend you pick up the Risk game, classic one, the standard game. I don't know that much about the other alternatives. There are legacy versions that make it more dynamic. There are several that are themed to different properties, but the classic Risk has some merit to it just simply because you can play a different style of game each time you play. The classic original rules play out and feel more like World War I. Others feel more like World War II, and so like you're able to get a different play experience out of it each time, and it is absolutely a classic, and it is as simple and easy to learn as any game that's out there. Next is one, if you appreciate games of charades and games of memorization and of trivia, Time's Up is a great game. You observe each round the players either reading the clues and understanding what they're trying to portray when they're giving their clues, but you're also watching for hand gestures and body language and nuance, and each round of the game this comes out in different ways. So highly enjoyable, and it can be played session after session without a real intense need to follow the keeping of score. It's just a lot of fun to enjoy the interactions. Of course, the classic charades. You can probably find the rules for this online. It's a classic home game and requires a little bit of acting, a little bit of creativity, a little bit of pantomime, and just awareness of how the nuances of the rules work. The more sophisticated you become in knowing the game of charades, the more challenging each round becomes as the players work to try to discover the clues from non-verbal communication. It's a great game. And of course, these are all games that can be themed by associating them with the holidays, by saying all of the clues will be coming from, say, a holiday calendar or something. Next, we have an oldie but goodie, like an absolute classic. You need to have a copy of the Settlers of Catan. There are dozens, I would suppose, of supplements and add-ons and alternatives to the classic Settlers. There are seafarers and starfarers and so on. There are just dozens and dozens of ways to play Settlers, but the classic, the oldie but goodie, should be in your closet right now because it's a great game to share with your family and friends. And then finally, the last one I want to mention is a brand new one. It's been out for a couple of years, but I really like the visuals of it, and this is the Golem edition of a game called Century. And Century is a trade-based game, and you're gathering and trading items and building a value for commodities, and therefore buying these basically robotics, these golems that do work for you. So as you can see, it's very visual. It's also very tangible. The pieces are the crystalline gemstones come in a variety of colors, and they are necessary for how the trading mechanism works. And not only is it a beautiful game, it's also an enjoyable game, and it plays relatively quickly. We're talking about less than half an hour. So in the case of all these games that I've recommended, they're all decent games for playing it with a party of 4 to 6 players generally. They are all relatively quick to play. They are easy cleanup, easy participation, and will make your holiday season really great. But more importantly, these are all games that are without a need for only the holidays. So these are evergreen and they'll be usable over and over during your year.